Good morning. Welcome to Quarantining with Pastor Michelle. I just tried to do the video just a minute ago and it didn't go over so well. So I had to kind of do a double take. But thank you. Welcome. I'm going to try to be like John Krasinski. Welcome to another edition of Quarantining with Pastor Michelle. I was up till 3 a.m. last night, so I'm feeling a little bit tired. I had a Mountain Dew Zero around 7 and it kicked in around 11, I think. So yeah, I was up pretty late, but it was a great night. And so I do hope all of you are doing okay. I hope you're finding joy. I hope you're finding peace. And so I wanted to go ahead and get us started with just a little bit of reflection from this book. Every relationship needs a healthy dollop of spontaneity to keep it clicking. Nothing needs to be rehearsed or practiced. There doesn't have to be a plan. One day you just jump up and go, spinning into a rambunctious, off-the-cuff frolic. You don't check in, tweet, email, or text while you're gone. There's no way to carry a cell phone on a skinny dip in the ocean. And you'd have to stop the wild energy to Instagram. Freedom is letting go of bounds and barriers and hurling yourself into the adventure of living. That's how you build a book of moments, a love, a friendship, a family. I like that. Freedom is letting go of bounds and barriers, hurling yourself into the adventure of living. And I do know that we find ourselves living in a pandemic, but I think there's still some room for spontaneity. So perhaps today, find something spontaneous to do, something that you don't have to Instagram or Snapchat. Find something just fun to do around your house. Leave the house, go for a walk, do something. After this, I do plan on taking our dog on a walk in the park. Lemmy? All right, sorry. She's looking at something and I was just making sure she's okay. So anyway, find something spontaneous to do today, whatever it is. If you live by an ocean, and you can, if you have your own private ocean, I guess, go skinny dipping in an ocean or go skinny dipping in your bathtub. That was a little joke, but just do something crazy, as crazy as you can make it be. I don't know. Sometimes the best things in life are those moments that you don't plan, and I understand that. My wife is someone that doesn't plan that much, but some of my best moments in my life with her so far, and we've been together 11 years, going on 12 in September. Some of the best things in my own life has been those moments that we didn't plan. And so I'm grateful that my wife is more spontaneous than I am, because she has helped me to live a more full life. And we've had some amazing adventures. We've gotten to travel the world. And so I'm grateful for that. So let's start with a moment of prayer. Our Father and Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Let's take a deep breath and let it out. So our bit of good news this morning is coming to you about Crayola crayons. Finally, a crayon collection that represents a spectrum of skin tones. This week, Crayola announced its Colors of the World collection, which features shades that more accurately reflect the diversity of young doodlers across the country. Before now, most basic crayon packs didn't include more than one beige and one brown crayon, but the new colors range from very light rose to deepest almond with 22 shades in between. Better save a spot on the fridge when they debut. These self-portraits are going to be good. So good for Crayola. That's awesome. And to be more inclusive. So my friends, our woman of the day is Coco Chanel. She's a fashion designer who revolutionized women's clothing. So before we dive into Hunger Games, let's hear about some Coco Chanel. So she is the second of 6 children. Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel was born in Saumur, France in 1883. Her mother, who worked in a laundry, died when Gabrielle was young, and her father, a traveling salesman, put her into an orphanage so she could be cared for by the nuns there. The nuns did a very important thing for Gabrielle. They taught her how to sew, embroider, and iron at an early age. She lived with them until she was 18 when she left for Paris to start a new life. She got the nickname Coco as a singer on stage, but soon decided that singing was not the job for her, and she started a hat-making business instead. She opened her first shop in 1910 with money from one of her friends and admirers, and as her business became more successful, she started making and selling clothes as well. Within 6 years, Coco's shops were doing so well that she was able to repay all the money she had borrowed. One of Coco's first successful fashion designs was an old sweater that she turned into a dress one chilly day. Whenever someone admired her dress, she offered to make one for them. This example of making something comfortable into something stylish was at the heart of how she approached fashion. In a time when women were still wearing tight corsets and long petticoats, she set them free. Daringly, she shortened hemlines on skirts and dresses and designed trousers so that women could walk faster, ride bikes, and do all the things that men could do. She was glamorous and people wanted to copy her look. She wore her hair short. The boyish style was becoming popular in the 1920s. She also created a perfume and gave it a number because she was told by a fortune teller it was her lucky number. Coco Chanel number 5 was the first fragrance to carry a designer's name and became the best-selling perfume of all time. And it's still popular today, and so are many of her designs, such as her little black dress and her famous jacket and shirt and skirt suits. With the little black dress, Coco took a color that was normally used for mourning and showed the world how chic and practical it could be. Her first suit design, which boldly borrowed from men's fashion in a way no one had done before, was comfortable and elegant at the same time. Throughout the 20s, Coco's business grew and grew. She was popular in the world of literature and art too, designing costumes for ballets and spending time with artist friends such as Picasso. In the 30s, Coco's business continued to do well, even when financial problems all over the world meant that people weren't spending much money on fashion. But when the Second World War broke out, she closed her shops and let her staff go, eventually moving to Switzerland. Then when she was 70, Coco came back to Paris saying she was dying of boredom. Once again, she became a leader in the world of fashion, winning over women with her elegant, easy-to-wear designs. Many books have been written and an award-winning musical and film have been made about Coco because the story of the designer herself is as fascinating as the clothes she created. She changed the world of fashion forever, freeing women from clothing that restricted them. Many of her designs combining style and comfort, and her perfume are as popular today as they were nearly 100 years ago. And some of her quotes, and there she is wearing a hat. In order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. Luxury must be comfortable, otherwise it's not luxury. The most courageous act is to still think for yourself aloud. I did not know any of that about Coco Chanel, so I just learned something. I thought Coco Chanel was I thought she was more recent. I thought she was like around in the 80s, so that's a new. So tomorrow, my friends, we're going to hear about one of the greatest jazz singers of all time. We're going to hear about Billie Holiday tomorrow. So you'll want to tune in for that. And so, my friends, let's get right into Hunger Games, shall we? And so we are on chapter 5. We are getting there. We're going to just read a couple pages, I think, today. We're definitely not going to read the whole chapter. And so, as we know, Peeta and Katniss are on their way to the Capitol, and things have been just going crazy in the train that they're on. And Haymitch is their sponsor. It's been a lot of stuff happening. So let's continue on. Rip, I grit my teeth as Venya, a woman with aqua hair and gold tattoos above her eyebrows, yanks a strip of fabric from my legs, tearing out the hair beneath it. Sorry, she pipes in her silly capital accent. You're just so hairy. Why do these people speak in such a high pitch? Why do their jaws barely open when they talk? Why do the ends of their sentences go up as if they're asking a question? Odd vowels, clipped words, and always a hiss on the letter S. No wonder it's impossible not to mimic them. Venya makes what's supposed to be a sympathetic face. Good news, though. This is the last one. Ready? I get a grip on the edges of the table I'm seated on and nod. The final swath of my leg hair is uprooted in a painful jerk. I've been in the remake center for more than 3 hours and I still haven't met my stylist. Apparently has no interest in seeing me until Venya and the other members of my prep team have addressed some obvious problems. This has included scrubbing down my body with a gritty foam that has removed not only dirt, but at least 3 layers of skin, turning my nails into uniform shapes, and primarily ridding my body of hair. My legs, arms, torso, underarms, and parts of my eyebrows have been stripped of the stuff, leaving me like a plucked bird ready for roasting. I don't like it. My skin feels sore and tingling and intensely vulnerable. But I've kept my side of the bargain with Hey Mitch, and no objection has crossed my lips. You're doing so well, says one guy named Flavius. He gives his orange corkscrew locks a shake and applies a fresh coat of purple lipstick to his mouth. If there's one thing we can't stand, it's a whiner. Grease her down. Vinya and Octavia, a plump woman whose entire body has been dyed a pale shade of pea green, rub me down with a lotion that first stings, but then soothes my raw skin. Then they pull me from the table, removing the thin robe I've been allowed to wear off and on. I stand there completely naked as the 3 circle me, wielding tweezers to remove any last bits of hair. I know I should be embarrassed, but they're so unlike people that I'm no more self-conscious than if a trio of oddly colored birds were pecking around my feet. The 3 sat back and admired their work. Excellent, you almost look like a human being now, says Flavius, and they all laugh. I force my lips up into a smile and show how grateful I am. Thank you. We don't have much to look nice in the District 12. This wins them over completely. Of course you don't, you poor darling, says Octavia, clasping her hands together in distress for me. But don't worry, Vinya said. By the time Chinna is through with you, you're going to be absolutely gorgeous. We promise, you know now that we've gotten rid of all the hair and filth. You're not horrible at all, says Flavius, encouraging. Let's call Chinna. They dart out of the room. It's hard to hate my prep team. They're such total idiots. And yet, in an odd way, I know they're sincerely trying to help me. I look at the cold white walls and floor and resist the impulse to retrieve my robe. But this China, my stylist, will surely make me remove it at once. Said my hands go to my hairdo, the one area of my body my prep team had been told to leave alone. My fingers stroke the silky braids my mother so carefully arranged. My mother. I left her blue dress and shoes on the floor of my train car, never thinking about retrieving them, of trying to hold on to a piece of her, a piece of home. How I wish I had. The door opens and a young man who must be China enters. I'm taken aback by how normal he looks. Most of the stylists they interview on TV are so dyed, stenciled, and surgically altered they're grotesque. But China's close-cropped hair appears to be its natural shade of brown. He's in a simple black shirt and pants. The only concession to self-alteration seems to be metallic gold eyeliner that has been applied with a light hand. It brings out the flecks of gold in his green eyes, and despite my disgust with the Capitol and their hideous fashions, I can't help thinking how attractive it looks. Hello, Katniss. I'm China, your stylist, she says, in a quiet voice, somewhat lacking in the Capitol's affections. Hello, I venture cautiously. Just give me a moment, all right? He asks. He walks around my naked body, not touching me, but taking in every inch of it with his eyes. I resist the impulse to cross my arms over my chest. Who did your hair? My mother, I say. It's beautiful, classic, really, and almost a perfect balance with your profile. She has very clever fingers, he says. I had expected someone flamboyant, someone older, trying desperately to look young, someone who viewed me as a piece of meat to be prepared for a platter. China has met none of these expectations. You're new, aren't you? I ask. I don't think I've seen you before. Most of the stylists are familiar constants in the ever-changing pool of tributes. Some have been around my whole life. Yes, this is my first year in the game, says Cena. So they gave you District 12, I say? Newcomers generally end up with us, the least desirable district. I asked for District 12, he says, without further explanation. Why don't you put on your robe and we'll have a chat? Pulling on my robe, I follow him through a door into a sitting room. 2 red couches face off over a low table. 3 walls are blank. The 4th is entirely glass, providing a window to the city. I can see by the light that it must be around noon, although the sunny sky has turned overcast. China invites me to sit on one of the couches, and he takes his place across from me. He presses a button on the side of the table. The top splits, and from below rises a second tabletop that holds our lunch. Chicken and chunks of oranges cooked in a creamy sauce laid on a bed of purely white grain. Tiny green peas and onions, rolls shaped like flowers, and for dessert a pudding the color of honey. I try to imagine assembling this meal myself back home. Chickens are too expensive, but I can make do with a wild turkey. I need to shoot a second turkey to trade for an orange. Goat's milk would have to substitute for cream. We can grow peas in the garden, and I have to get wild onions from the woods. I don't recognize the grain. Our own tessera ration cooks down to an unattractive brown mush. Fancy rolls would mean another trade with the baker, perhaps for 2 or 3 squirrels. As for the pudding, I can't even guess what's in it. Days of hunting and gathering for this one meal, and even then it would be a poor substitution for the capital version. What must it be like, I wonder, to live in a world where food appears at the press of a button? How would I spend the hours I now commit to combing the woods for sustenance, if it were so easy to come by? What do they do all day, these people in the capital, besides decorating their bodies and waiting around for a new shipment of tributes to roll in and die for their entertainment? I look up and find Sheena's eyes trained on mine. How despicable we must seem to you, he says. Has he seen this in my face or somehow read my thoughts? He's right, though. The whole rotten lot of them is despicable. So tomorrow we will continue to hear about Katniss's conversation with Cena, which I think in the movie, Cena is played by Lenny Kravitz. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, I do hope all of you are doing okay. I'm going to go take a walk. That's going to be my spontaneous thing to do. Much love to all of you. God bless you.